Welcome to the Business Growth Podcast. Today I'm here with Brittany, the co-founder and managing partner of Ledgerly. Welcome to the show.
Great. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit more, what do you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I'm the managing partner of Ledgerly Consulting. We were founded in 2021, and our firm, if you were to fast forward 5 years, we specialize in providing audit-ready books to nonprofit organizations. So think of data entry to CFO services, supporting them on their tax front and tax compliance at the federal and state and local level. And then we also help them with kind of their audit prep needs and making sure that when they need an audit, that they're ready to go. And overall, I think clients are itty bitty, just getting started, all the way up to 50, 60 million in their budgeted annual revenue. So we support the little man.
Nice. And then what made you decide to initially focus on this specific type of niche?
Yeah, it's actually a great question. So when Ledgerly started, it actually was founded on the premise, obviously, it's kind of during the COVID time, of we want to help those that needed the help the most. So we actually had a much wider client base. We supported small businesses. We did have some mid-market. We supported, a little bit of nonprofit. But over the 5 years, we just continued to organically and naturally grow in the nonprofit space. And so as we looked at how we serve our clients best, as we looked at how do we continue to hire talent in this space, we decided that our values align very closely with the leaders and team members of nonprofits. And so it was actually late last year that we decided to formally make the switch and work with our clients that kind of didn't fit in our newest niche. But it really came from a passion of we want to do work that we're proud of and that we're happy to and that we come to work and enjoy. But also from a staffing perspective, we were asking staff to learn nonprofit accounting, for-profit accounting. Oh, and by the way, we do legal services, real estate, manufacturing, breweries. That's a lot for one person to go through. So it's kind of an operational decision, but also more of a personal value decision.
Right. And then what would you say some of the main challenges these nonprofits face that you end up coming and helping them, especially getting their books ready for audit?
Absolutely. So when we work with nonprofits, the biggest challenge that we see is funding, right? So nonprofits, they don't typically have reoccurring products and software or retail sales that's supporting them, right? So the biggest challenge that we see is them being able to afford the individuals that have the high complexity to support nonprofits. So oftentimes they will come to us where a volunteer is giving it all that they've got. Maybe they know accounting, maybe they don't, maybe they're in a related field. So the biggest part is actually being able to partner with someone and afford the help that they need to get there. So we try to provide a solution that gives them, honestly, an outsourced accounting department where at a fraction of what a full-time, say, accounting manager would be.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then once you start working with them, what would you say is some of the first things that you end up doing?
Yeah, so as we start to work with nonprofits, so we, in our first month, we go through internal controls, tech stack, roles and responsibilities, how does their board function, what does their financial statements look like? It's almost kind of just getting exposure to the entire nonprofit. We interview and meet with team members to think about what their pain points are and how we can help them. And so usually our first 2 weeks is just diving in, getting empathy of what position they're in, where do they want to go. And then the second 2 weeks is implementing the technology that we would have had discussions with them during the proposal phase. So we use platforms like Bill and Bill Spend and QuickBooks Online. And so we're kind of migrating them in while fixing all the things we learned. And so usually by month 2, we are up and rolling and they're on their path to getting those financial statements monthly and then clearing through their goals. Oftentimes we come away with 3 to 5 things that they want to accomplish. So we try to do that in the first few months.
Nice. It sounds like you have a pretty standardized approach, week by week, that you implement, which is always good. And then how about what are some of the things that you guys as a business are currently working on internally to keep getting better?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in moving to the niche, part of our theme this year is really ensuring that we have a standardized process that is documented to its highest ability, and then templates to support the team. So if you think about how our internal workflows work, what we found is our team was curating from scratch for every communication, from every workflow, from every work paper. So 2026 is all about, we have all of these things, Excel work papers. We know what the workflow should be. We know the timing. So the Q1 is all about standardization through documentation, and I think I've made up a word, templatization. So you got to templatize it so that you can delegate. Because we have big growth in our firm as a small firm. We want everyone to be able to elevate. So you can't do that if everything is in your brain and it stays as kind of institutional knowledge and can't be scaled. So that's what we're focused on in Q1. Then we have a pretty rapid growth plan as we come into the summer.
Okay, nice. Yeah, doing like standardized and SOPs. It's crazy how much of a difference it makes, and just being able to every client, this is how we do it, this is the steps, these are the messages that we send. Yeah, I've noticed in my business it's so much better doing something like that.
It is, and
Uh,
you mentioned something about, we have this kind of standardization of how we do things. We tell our clients there's not a one size fits all solution because each nonprofit does have their own unique challenges. But the team has been tasked with on the back end, like bill pay shouldn't look different for each client. The work is the same. How we do 1099s is the same. How we get to a financial statement is the same. So to your point, it's really getting everyone on the same train, going in the same direction. We can have a different conversation each time, but the workflow itself stays the same.
yeah, definitely. And then, so aside from standardization and templatization, what are some of the other goals that you guys are working towards in this first like quarter of the year?
Yep. So we revamped our staffing model. So we hired roles that fit the need versus the mold. So we're building out what I call our client operations team. And so that's our team that really is kind of frontline defense for our clients. They provide an extremely high level of response time. They are able to troubleshoot many small things, training, etc. So that's one big thing that we're building out as we come into Q1. The second part is we're building out the tax department. So that itself has challenges. We've often outsourced that ourselves, and so bringing all of that in-house is curating all of those pieces. Aside from that, I'll be honest with you, we're trying to keep up with the rapid transformation that we're seeing within our tech stack. So it feels like every week there's a substantial change to one of our platforms. So we're trying to find how can we continue to stay up to speed when our technology is just changing so frequently. And so I think that's a challenge our team is trying to work through. And then lastly is the team is charged by the end of the year to make sure that they're educating the community. So how do we close the gap in the nonprofit space? They don't teach traditional classes like this at the collegiate level. There are some conferences in space, but the one thing that we heard from our community is I need more training, I need more hands-on, I need more DIY. And so that's kind of a gap that we're seeing. We do a lot of training, lots of
Mhm.
based on basic workflows.
Yeah, nice. There's like a couple of different things you're working on. I liked especially the keeping up with technology part because it seems like it's like a race to who can be the most, implement the most AI the quickest, and yeah, every single software is solely integrating. So it's really interesting. So I guess like how do you see the industry changing with how technology is going?
It's kind of crazy. We just went to market for a new AI note taker, right? And that in itself by the moment we scheduled the call and finished the last call, someone already released a new feature. And so I don't know that I have the exact answer. What we train our teams is that they need to have a level of open disruption. And so they need to be able to flex with the technology and know when it's truly not working versus the technology is pushing them for transformation. As I look at the next year, I think we're going to see a significant disruption in all of our tech, in my existing tech stack, from our note taker to how we request information from tax returns to our internal workflows. And so it is interesting. It does feel like a horse race. It's like, who's going to get there first? And so a concern that we're seeing is that we're seeing product roll too soon. So product is being sent out and expanded through technology, and then it's got so many bugs, it gets pulled back. And so that disruption is where we struggle. It's not adaptating to whatever it is has changed. It's that back and forth of like, they wanted to be the first one, but if they just took a little bit more time, maybe it would have been less disruptive to us as a firm. I don't have the answer. Someone does reach out, but we're just trying to stay nimble and flexible.
Oh yeah, that is definitely the worst. If you get this like new software or something, and it starts working with the business a little bit, but it's not quite doing exactly what you need, and then you just spend all this time learning that software, but it doesn't do the one or two things that you also really need it to do. Yeah, definitely. And then, so I always like to ask, like, let's say you had like a magic AI robot that you could implement into your business to do whatever you needed it to do. What would you get it to do?
Uh, oh my. So I would say I have like two answers because I'm an accountant. So I think the first one is we are seeing a high level of questions come in from our clients, right? Even from their own research. And so we do not yet have a great solution for accounting firms that relates to incoming emails and being able to tag them to a specific member and then kind of getting those response times out. It's almost like a mixture of like a ticketing system and a communication system and then an internal communication. I know that there's technology out there that does the piece of those, but that is probably our biggest issue is we have questions that come in via email, via text, and or our client portal, and it's not all synchronizing. And so it's a lot of manual work for our operations team to make sure that they're responding timely.
Mm,
Because our clients, no one has the same communication form, right? Some prefer text, some prefer email, some wait until their monthly meeting. And so I think if I could have a wish, it would be help streamlining communication for multiple styles. But from an accounting firm perspective, I have control over seeing all of it. And I can see when it came in and who's responded and how long do we have until we meet our SLA. Like, I need something that could help the human side of our business ensure that we're following up.
hmm So something that's more like a central hub for all client communication that sends whatever they're sending to the appropriate person in your team, essentially.
Right, because we use Canopy, right? So if we send a client request, they will respond there. But what about the question that just comes up? There isn't a place today in our client portal for that. So it's either an email or a text. So now we've gone kind of outside, and now our team has to try to track the email or the text message and make sure that it's responded. So that'd be kind of my wish, is like a communication tool that brings it all together.
Right. And have you guys looked in terms of like AI to help with that a little bit as well?
Yep, so we use AI in the sense of like when it's like a very standard response or standard question or those types of pieces. I think it's like when we get more into the specifics, like I'm running into this issue and I actually need a human. Like I need someone to hop on a call with me or schedule a meeting. So we do use AI. The hard part for us is everyone has their own AI. And so we're trying to figure out, well, how do we link our texting system to our email system, to our portal, and maybe our portal doesn't really integrate. And so I think that's where we struggle, is that they're not all operating and open in the same way.
Right. And then you said there was another one. You said there was another one.
Oh, yes. Okay, so the second one internally is that we would love to be able to continue to automate our month-end close, right? And it is particular to review notes. So internally, right, we have clients where they're a little bit larger and you have someone who's preparing and someone who's reviewing. We have a hard time, it's a very manual process we have today on, okay, I as a preparer have these questions, and then a reviewer will answer, and then the reviewer has comments on things that they've changed. That piece is the area that our team shares, like, oh, I wish there was something better here. That's not a Google sheet that I'm importing into or a Word document, because people want to do better, right? And giving feedback is essential in our culture. And so I feel like that's the second piece for us that slows us down because it's so manual on the changes that we're making.
Yeah, and I imagine doing the same repetitive task is also sometimes annoying. So what would you think is like the dream outcome for something like that? Like how should it work?
With respect to the review notes, it's I think it's about getting, again, I think we're disjointed from our practice management system. So it's like, how can we build an integration that works with the reoccurring tasks and the workloads and the checklists that are already set up and link the human side, which is that feedback, that review note side. Ideally, we would really love that to be in this management, allowing us to have review notes and check notes and internal questions, more internal customization. We're exploring options right now. There's some creative ways we've seen from some of my partners on how they utilize Slack and channel
Yeah.
clients. There are some platforms out there that automate kind of the month-end close checklist side, but they don't do the review note side. So I think it's going to be a continuing progress. We do see some of the practice management platforms coming along. For now, we've built our own proprietary way of tracking questions and review notes and making sure that team members get help.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, Slack is I love Slack. Whenever I go to like any different communication channels like email or Microsoft Teams, it kind of feels like you're going into the past a little bit. It's just yeah, Slack is so much better.
We've been on Teams for about 10 years. Our texting is integrated, our phones are integrated. And last year I had an opportunity to meet with Vinyl. They were kind of showing me their AI note taker, and they showed me how they integrated it into Slack, and I was mind. And so I think I spent the better part of 2 weeks, and I launched and stood up Slack like within a day. And now our team is like, it's a night and day difference
Oh yeah.
for list tracking, channel announcements, like notifications coming in. So to your part, automating that, I'm a huge Slack fan now. We'll never go.
Yeah, yeah, it's a pretty simple concept as well, but yeah, there's not really many other softwares that I know of that have a like a setup like that. So yeah, really, really good piece of software. I know we're starting to run out of time here, so how about let's finish on what are some of the best lessons that you've learned like in business?
Uh, the number one lesson that I learned last year is don't be scared to hire help. I was in the mindset last year that I needed to go create the revenue before I hired, and I had a very dear friend share with me, do you think that you're just going to hire someone and they're not going to work and they're not going to produce for you? That's not what we do in accounting. So the biggest lesson that I learned last year is we hired late. We needed to hire much sooner. And it was just from an internal fear in myself that well, what if I don't get the revenue, or what if I don't get the work? And so that was really big for us. I see a lot of accounting firms that do that. Same mindset. I can't afford it. And honestly, we hired 5 people in 31 days, and it was the absolute best thing we could have done. And I think taking that leap in confidence. I think the last one is, my second one is just building community is going to be really important in the world that we're coming into, and how we can support each other, how we can all get to the finish line together. And so I think a personal goal of mine is just continuing to give back to the community that I am in and help uplift and support others.
Nice. That's awesome. 5 people in 31 days is a lot. How about if we go into just like a little bit more before we sign off, how did you go about that, getting like 5 quality people as well and in such a short period of time? What was like the process to find these like good candidates?
Yeah, it's actually kind of twofold. So for some of the roles, we were really intentional with our job description, like vulnerable, transparent, visibility, like this is the role. And so when we went into those interviews, we asked very specific questions. It wasn't like, how are you and how do you handle conflict? It was, we did some culture questions, some personal questions, and then we just got right to the meat. Like we did not waste time in 3 different interviews. So I think for the roles that were, think of like entry level roles, internship roles, it was really like, this is the expectations of you.
Right.
For one of the roles, I did not know how to put the role online. And so I did a Facebook post that was just vulnerable from the heart and was like, you know that moment when you need a Donna? I'm like a huge Suits fan. I was like, you know that moment when you need a Donna? Like, I think I'm at that moment and I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what this is. And man, the outrage that I got from that was higher than what I got from like posting a job on LinkedIn. And so I think the reason we were able to do it is because we were really clear on the role. We were really clear on the pay, the expectations, our culture. And then from there, it was just a systematic process, right? This is what we send. This is how we onboard them. Here's the type of meetings. And so I think the standardization there allowed me to go quick. But, you know, here we are 5 people later and they're rocking and rolling.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I like the doing it in the Facebook groups and being vulnerable. That's really, yeah, I wouldn't have thought it would have done as good or better than LinkedIn. So that's really cool. Well, it's been great having you on the show. Where can people go to find out a little bit more about you and what you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So my main platform is LinkedIn, and so feel free to come and send a comment and follow there. We are actively under a website rebrand, and so in the future it will be our website, www.ledgerlyconsulting.com. But yeah, reach out. Happy to chat, talk, text, connect, whatever that may look like.
Mhm. All right, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I'll include those links in the show notes below. You guys have been listening to the Business Growth Podcast. Until next time, keep growing.